Hi, I'm Christoph Rabel. I work for 8 years now with Liferay, and usually often as a consultant, as an architect. And we had to do lots of projects for different customers. And I'd like to share my experiences and some things we learned in that time with you. But first, I'd like to tell you, you can already access this at DEVCON DCCS AT. This is actually a website based on Liferay. I mean, this is localhost, but this is just for presentation. You can go to that URL and already go through it and swipe through it if you want. So you will find there links to source code, some configuration details, and further info. It usually hides behind that info button. You can click on it and you get a few more thoughts on it, but I usually won't use it in the presentation itself. And you can also get some spoilers if you want. You know, it's the whole presentation. So the main topics of my talk will be, I want to give you an overview about structures, templates, and the whole thing, how we see it and what we do with it. Then version control was a major issue for us because templates are not versioned. And yeah, you change it, it's changed. And then I'd like to do an example, the menu of the week. Everybody needs to eat. So it's quite a common use case for a lot of portals that you have a menu plan in there somehow, even if it's a PDF or something. And in the end, I want to close with some tips. That's actually the best practices part because it contains all the things we really learned in development. Well, structures and templates, they are really a core feature of Liferay. You can define forms with them, fields, forms, and they are auto-generated, and then you have templates that render them. And you can do a lot of things. You have a lot of flexibility there, a lot of power, and you can nearly do the same things as portlets. And it's not only web content you can style with it, it's the navigation, it's the breadcrumbs. There are a lot of things that you can use templates, and I saw today that search will get its templates too, so you will be able in the future to style search or show the search results with templates. So I'd like to give you some examples. On the left you see a navigation, it's a template, and then you see some news. It's an AssetPublisher. It fetches the latest news and shows the latest news in this nice format. And the editor just needs to enter the title, the text, select an image, and the rest is done by the template. And this is a menu. We did it for another customer. This is based on 6.2. It's not 7. But the editor just enters the menu of the day. He writes soup, main menu, main course, and then we show the menu of the current week for that week or for the last week, next week, and printable version so that they can put it into the cantina. Then this is actually something different. This is not a web content. This is a view on a document library. The editors, we have a predefined folder structure. The editors upload files there, categorize and tag them, and we go in there, fetch those files, file names, and links, and put them here in this nice view so that the end users see it in a more convenient way. They don't want to navigate through the folders. They want to see the related documents in a way that they understand. And of course, we have built our own website and this presentation with web content. This presentation is web content too, and as I said, our own website is built on the same principles. So as you can see, we use that stuff a lot. And for us, templates are small applications. I mean, you have a lot of power there. You have FreeMarker. FreeMarker is a scripting language, and from there you can call Liferay services and OSGi service. You write an OSGi service, you can access it from there, you can call it, and do whatever you want from there. So then you can add JavaScript code. Whatever you want, you can do everything in JavaScript. And you could even put a whole React application in web content. I'm not saying that you should do it, it's a bad idea, but you could. It's really a powerful concept. And then you can add CSS, so you can style it. So it's really kind of a small portlet in, if you want to see it that way. But there are also some disadvantages of using templates. And they are also pretty big, because the form fields, the structures define the form fields, and sorry, I'm still at the advantage. You don't need to create the form fields. The templates provide the view, and you have the whole infrastructure of Liferay there. You have categorization, you have the trash can, you have staging. You don't need to code it yourself. You know, if you create your own portlet for, let's say, a product list, you would need to code all this stuff if you need it in there with Service Builder, and it's permissions. It's a lot of work, and with web content, it's kind of built in. But as I said, there are also some issues, and they are related to the deployment part, and to the advantages, because when you use form fields, the forms are auto-generated. You can't do anything there. So you have these basic form fields, and you can't do your own validation. You can't do fancy permission checks. You can't do, if this field is selected, I want to show the other field or not, or only these people should enable this field. And there's a lot of things you can't do because it's auto-generated. Also, what you should not forget is it is document-based. A web content is one document. You don't have queries. So you can't say to create a select query and say, give me all where this and that and join, and all those fancy things you can do with table-based, with portlets and tables. And you also have limited extensibility. When you have basically one FreeMarker file, and you can write a lot of code in there, and it will become really ugly when you reach a certain point. So these disadvantages and advantages are a matter of choice for you. You choose, is that the right approach for me or not? Do I need a portlet, or is this sufficient? I need just a few on these data, so a few lines. I don't need any logic, so yeah, fantastic. But I need 15 forms and everything. Yeah, you probably should not go down this way. But that's your choice, and you have it full under control. A big thing for us was there is no version control. Version control has a lot of advantages. We are used to version control. It stores versions. We understand, we have a history of changes. We understand what happened. Oh, something broke. Yesterday somebody changed these lines. You can check that. But if you have a template, it's on the server, you edit it, and it's the new template, and the old one is gone. You can do manual backups or something, but if you forget that, or the other guy did it, it's gone. So you really want to use version control. We put all our source code in Git. Why don't we do it with templates? And so this was a big thing for us. So then we pondered, how could we do that? That was, we had some ideas, And one thing was, yeah, we could use export-import, but export-import creates a LAR file that's only compatible to the current version of Liferay. So you upgrade, it's not useful anymore. We could unpack it, look into it, but the storage type might change. It's an internal format. We should not touch it. So we said, no, that's not the right approach. We could write our own API, or we could write a portlet. We could use the web services, the DDM services would allow us to do that. Probably, we didn't try it. But we settled on WebDev. The thing is, WebDev is already there. You can now start up your Explorer, File Explorer, and connect to the Liferay server, and you can copy the files, the templates, structures, everything down. You can do that now on all your test servers. Maybe you have disabled it, then you can't, but usually you can do it. But there is also a tiny little problem. When you do that, you get this. You get 28921, and that's your template. Maybe it's the other one, because you can't tell. Nobody knows those numbers. So that's really bad. And these numbers are primary keys, so they change from system to system. So you have on dev different numbers than on prod and on your dev system, and it's not funny. But there's a solution to that, and it's quite simple, because WebDev also sends a nice name, a unique name. So we can still leverage the WebDev protocol, but we need a Java client. So we wrote a small client. It's really a tiny thing, a few lines of code. You can find the source code on GitHub. This blue line says it's a link, so you can go there, click on it, check the source code. There's also a demo configuration file. I think it's configured to use test at localhost, the test at liferay.com at localhost, and test as password. If you do a standard installation of Liferay, it should work out of the box and sync files. You need to configure the paths, but it's pretty simple. And with that configuration, with that file, we get this. We get a really nice list of templates with names and everything, so we can download it with that. And there's a further feature. We can also upload them. We can also say, yeah, now the file has changed. For example, the developer checks it in, Jenkins or whatever tool we use, fetches it from Git and calls that upload, and the test system has the current version of the templates. So that is pretty useful. There are some limitations. For structures, it can't do initial creation. They are read-only. You can't create them, and you can't overwrite them. But that's a thing we can live with that, because structures change only very seldom. You specify the fields, and we found that we very seldom add further fields. So here we have version control achieved. So that was very important for us. It was one of the big things that limited us in our work with structures, templates, and with templates I'm including ADTs too. And we have all the benefits of version control, and we have a transport from dev to test to production for files. The client also has a blacklist to exclude the Liferay original templates, because we don't want to check them in or export them. But it's pretty powerful. Well, with that achieved, I'd like to show you a small example project we did for this presentation. The menu of the week. And to do that, I'd like to start with some important configuration, what that's needed for this example, and you will probably need to use it always. It's pretty necessary. The structure, the templates, and I will also show you a helper service. You will later see why we need it. And that's basically the goal. And I cheated here because it's the end result. We didn't design it, we just created it. In a real project, you would probably start with such a design. So yeah, we want something that looks this way. And we have these fields, we have a date, we have a soup, main menu, and a dessert. And because of this, and based on that, we would create our structure and templates. But first, the configuration I recommend, or that's necessary. First, you need to enable the service locator. It allows you to call OSGi services from your free marker code. It enables a lot of power. It's really, really a powerful thing because you have the full power of a developer at your hands at that moment. And the only thing, what we security-wise, you should limit the creation of templates to administrators or some really powerful role, because you can do everything in there, really everything. You can do more than administrator can do, because maybe the button doesn't exist, but the API can do it. You have access to the full API when you enable it. And we found it's okay because we just limit the use to the administrators to create those files. Here's another picture how you would enable this, where you would enable the service locator. It's not so easy to find, and you can see the click buff here, and it should really help you to do it when you want to do it. Then another thing we really found useful is not exactly mandatory for a lot of things, but when you create a structure or a template, there's an automatic key generated, and this automatic key, it's also a database key. It's unique per system, so you don't want that. It's also a number. When you disable that, you need to type the key in manually, but you can choose words. So we usually choose something like, we created in global, it's a structure, and it's a dish because it's for food. That's just a nomenclature we choose. You can choose any naming you want. We found it useful to specify the place where it is located. But you can choose anything, just use a unique key, and it will really help you later. You also get better error messages. It doesn't tell you template 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 through an error. It does tell you template menu list through an error. So it's really nice in the log files. And here you can also see where you need to click to disable the automatic key generation. You can later, when you need it, you can look it up here. With the screenshot, it's better than a description. So, what's the plan to create our menu plan? Well, it's quite simple. We create a dish structure, we create templates for it. Yes, multiple templates, I'll come to that later. And we create application templates to show the whole week. And well, as you can see, if you are familiar with the structure editor, that's basically it, how it looks in the structure editor. It's really simple to create that. So you can find the JSON file for that online, so you don't need to click it yourself, you just can copy it. There's a source code button over the field, it's not on the screenshot, and copy the code in there. So, multiple article templates. What a lot of people don't know is you can actually create multiple templates per structure. The last one is the default template, so you could create a list item template and a full content template. Or, I don't know, I want to put the stuff in a JSON item for JavaScript, to use it in JavaScript, or I could, I don't know, whatever I want to do with it, based on the context. That's currently, it's often in 6.2 we usually solved it with if version 1 else, version 2 else, version 3. So it's like this is a far better approach. It's a kind of divide of conquer thing. And you will find, you can find on the Liferay blog, here it's linked there, an example or a better description how it works and everything from somebody at Liferay itself. But our approach has the added benefit that we have disabled the key generation, and we have nice names and they have numbers. So, and this is, I'm just showing it here for reference. It's a gist. You can find it on GitHub. That's the template for a list item, and there's a template for the full content. Well, it's pretty simple and not really complicated. You have standard free marker code, and it doesn't do anything special except adding styles to the divs. But in the end, you get two views of the same content. On the left is the list, and here's the full content view. It's the same content, the same data, but it's two views on the same content. You can do the same with news or with everything. You can create multiple templates, and you can choose later on which one to use to display the item. That's a really powerful feature, but it's not well known. So now we need the menu of the week. We have we have the list item. We can show each day of the week, and we now need to show the week. But when we, under our first idea, when we did this in 6.2, we thought, yeah, we could just configure AssetPublisher and show the items of the current week. But then we hit a little block because AssetPublisher can't do that. AssetPublisher doesn't allow you to filter based on times. So you can't say, give me the articles of the current week, of current month, or something like that. So we need a fix for that. In 6.2, we coded everything in the ADT. So it's really a long ADT with a lot of code in it, and it does everything. In 7.2, we don't need to do that anymore, because in 7.0 you can use OSGi. You can easily add your own service and call that service from the ADT. The code stays the same, but you can code it in Java, and that makes it far easier to write the code, far easier to test it, and it's a lot easier to code things in Java than in FreeMarker, believe me, because you write really ugly code in there if you have to access all kinds of Java things. It's really messy. But in 7.0, you don't need to do that. You create an interface, create an implementation, and annotate it. And that's the magic. You just need to add component to it. And that's actually the whole code of that get menu of the week method. I tell it, this is a component, register it in OSGi. I want to use this later on from somewhere else as an OSGi component. There are some details to it, but you find this code, can find this code on GitHub, not only this gist, but the whole code. You can look in there. And then we use the search engine. We create our own range search to search the menu of the week. So we go to this thing, say start of the week, end of the week, give us all items in that range. And Elasticsearch gives us that stuff. And then, when we have fetched it, we call this interface from the ADT. We tell the serviceLocator to please give us the menu search local service. We kept the naming convention of Liferay, local service, because the people are used to it, but you're free to name it any way you want. And then we just call the service to get the list, and then we iterate through the list. And then there's another nice feature of Liferay. It's only in there since GA4. It's not there in GA3. The Liferay journal tag. You can tell it, this is the article ID, this is the template, render it please. So you iterate through the items you get from the search and say, render them with this template. And well, here's a short list of things, how it works. It's actually what I just said. And this is a really powerful thing to use the same data and display it in multiple ways. Just use multiple templates and split them here. So, and well, that's the end result. The menu of the current week. Well, I actually cheated here because this is a presentation. This page will stay online for a while, and it's not the menu of the week, it's the menu of this week. So but it's just a tiny cheat. So, to recap that, OE of templates, version control, you can use, and that's an important point, multiple templates per structure. You can call services from those templates, and you can leverage search to find the menu of the week. So, some quick tips, and they are also really important. Make the templates and structures global. Don't put them in sites. You will later on, somebody will say, yeah, but we need this stuff in the other side. It will happen, I guarantee it. It happened always, always. Whenever we did it, it happened always. A lot of pain. Put it in global. You get a lot of stuff in there, but put it in global. Learn FreeMarker, read the documentation. Yes, it sounds simple, but FreeMarker is really, really powerful, and you can do a lot of things in there. Read the documentation, look into it, it's fantastic. And there's even more stuff than in the Liferay. What? No, okay. I thought it's another one. You can also put common code in other templates. You can include templates in templates. So you could split out code, common code, for example, get edit icon. That's one I use often. The list menu template is quite helpful here. Then look into Liferay's code. Liferay has a lot of examples. Look into them. They have, I don't know, 30 ADTs and several templates. Look into them. They are really, really a font of knowledge. You find nice things like how to get an edit URL for content, or get the categories, get the comments, things like that. It's all there. You just need to look into the existing code. And you also can get data from the ADT to the template. We often had the problem that we are in the list and we need to get data into the template, into the child, let's say. But you can simply store it in the request as an attribute, or return it in the request as an attribute. So you can exchange data between your templates. And that's also a really powerful feature, but you should not forget to clean up. We had some issues when we did not remove this data, because when multiple templates are behind each other, yeah. And then one thing for development, templates are cacheable. Caching is fantastic. It's a real cool thing, but if you have dynamic templates, yeah, it's probably not so good when it's cached, because the content is dynamic and can change at any time, so be careful. And you should always disable it on development time, because it's, well, really, really annoying if it does not change. And that's it. That's my talk. And you can find the whole stuff on GitHub. Please feel free to build it. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. And I'm here in the evening, so find me and ask me for details, or I don't know, something is missing on GitHub, I don't understand it, whatever. So, thank you.
guess we can take a quick question if anyone has a quick question.
In Liferay 7.0, the document library, the folders are not shown in a user-friendly way. Do you think this can help to present them?
It can.
It will be. I know it can, but would it be easy or?
Yes, it's easy.
Yeah.
The template we wrote for 6.2, it actually should work with changing the names of the packages. They changed with Liferay 7, but if you changed it, it's that well. It's that much of code, but it was changed 17 times, so it's become. But it's easy to do. Just enumerate the document library from with the services. You do the same stuff you do in Java. If you can write it in Java, you can write it in FreeMarker.
You mentioned we should always, try to put the templates and structure in global, but have you had cases where they were not in global and then you had to migrate to global?
Yes.
Is that possible technically? What does it involve?
It's not really possible. You have to change every single article by hand or write a script for it, but it's really, we had that a while ago and somebody clicked, I think, 200 articles, change the structure, change the template, change the structure, change the template, and no, it's...
in a database, you cannot write something that would...
You could, but you can, but you should not. You should